All right. Finally got a chance to get back to this. I know it's been a while. When we left off, we had a valve plate in here. We had the rotary group, and we had the shaft. Shaft was all the way through. And I believe I said it's already broke, so we can't make it much more broke. And then I said something along the lines of, we know that's not entirely true. Well, as it turned out, I made it more broke. Whenever I was pressing this to disengage it from here, I didn't do it exactly by the book, and I ended up screwing up the internal lock system in here, which, thanks to LJ Fluid Power, I managed to get the parts and pieces that I needed. These are the damaged parts, mainly the spiral lock. This cup could probably be reused, but there's a few dents in it right in here, and I just, figured, what the heck. And this is a spacer washer that can be used again, but figured since I could get the parts, no need to reuse something that might give us trouble. So I also, in pressing this out the wrong way, managed to push these two bearings down. So I had to push them out along with this seal. They call it a seal. It's nothing more than a machined piece that has an O-ring inside of it. So I had to press all this out and then press it all back in again correctly. Now, on a side note, trying to find parts and figure out exactly what Sunstrand did to make these different. Again, this is the motor. Well, this is the valve plate for the motor. As you see, it's got, let me get it a little closer, 4 notches. These notches will let you go either direction with the fluid power. This valve plate is still available. LJ has them, and they're $260, $270. Now, a normal Series 15 Sunstrand valve plate is only, I find them on eBay remanufactured for around $45 for both the motor and the pump. So I bought one to see just what the difference was. Now, there's 2 types, a thick and a thin. What comes in these motors and pumps for the Wheelhorse are the thin ones. This one I got really cheap, but unfortunately it's the thick plate. But I mean, it's pretty self-evident. Now, the back of the plates are pretty much the same. They have the oil grooves, and I'm sure a thin normal Series 15 plate would not have that groove all the way through. It would just be the shallow groove in here. Now, let's put them on top of each other. Take a look. Get a little bit closer. This is the thin Wheelhorse plate. That's the thick normal 15 plate. Well, look at that. They line up. All the grooves line up, the holes line up. The only difference between that I can find between a normal thin plate, valve plate for Series 15 and the Wheelhorse motor plate is the diameter of this. This diameter has to fit on the outside of this bearing. This bearing has a 1/100th of an inch protruding up this way. That's what holds our valve plate in place. Now we'll get to the pump a little while later. The pump takes a standard size 15 valve plate. Regular cost anywhere from $40 to $80. So if you cannot find one of these, which LJ has them in stock, or you don't want the expense, $250 plus, if you can find a regular thin valve plate, you should be able to have it bored, the center hole bored, the small center hole bored to the larger diameter to fit over that bearing. I know there were several discussions about this, so we should be able to do it. Again, this was just a regular 15. This is actually for a Massey Ferguson 1855, 1655, 1650 Sunstrand, and they use the thick plate evidently. Again, this is a thin plate. Let me get into my little secret hole here. They're not there. What did I do with them? You ever do that? Use something, put it somewhere and forget where you put it? Happens to me quite often. The bad thing is I just cleaned off the table so we could do this. These are the cheap Harbor Freight. They're good for my purposes. We are zeroed out. Now let me get back here and see if we can get it all done. Plate thickness, as found, is about 0.15556, somewhere in that area. And I have gone around several different places. It's all around 5.5. So now, in doing the press out the wrong way, I created a little damage right here. I'm not happy about that. So I'm going to not face it, but lap it a little bit on a plate that I have to see what we can see if we can knock that down and make it a little bit smoother. There's also a few spots in here that I'm not happy about. So I'm probably going to run this over and lap it too a couple of times. Now, let me just... These are the pistons, piston retainer, cylinder block. Now, you can't get them confused. says they have to go back in their original bores. I've pulled all these out one by one, taken a look at them. They look pretty good. I don't have a lot of complaints. The oil hole, the little hole right there in the middle, has to be free flowing, has to be unobstructed. Stick a pin in it, whatever you need to do to make sure everything is open. So let me get the stuff out for lapping. This is a sanding plate, sanding disc, 12-inch off of a Shopsmith. I'll get it right in a minute. Now, let's see if I got a little lube or something up here. Yeah, my can of stuff's not doing very good. This is just 400 grit wet or dry sandpaper. No real pressure. Down pressure, that is. Now, let's see what we've got. Get a rag. It's a pretty flat surface. There's one groove running around and around. Don't know if you can see it very good. The little nicks that I made, the high spots, well there's one of the high spots. We'll do a little more. That looks pretty good. Just got some of the discoloration off, some of the wear marks. There's still a few places, but I imagine by the time I sand those out, we will have lost our thickness that we need. I'm going to give it one more just for giggles. No down pressure, just back and forth. Now, if you want to lap your own because it's severely worn, I did this with the original motor that was on the Wheelhorse, just because the valve plate, the rear end exploded and sent steel all through it. So the valve plate was just gouged and scored, and the machine wouldn't even pull itself up a hill. I mean, any incline whatsoever. And what I did, like I said, it was severely scored through here. And this was allowing the oil, whenever it met resistance, instead of going through the pump or through the pistons, it was coming out the sides basically, and lost all my pressure. So I started off with like 100 grit sandpaper on a flat surface. You can use a piece of glass. You can go to the hardware store, get a piece of glass. And I started with 100 grit, 120, worked my way up, 220, 300, 400. I went all the way to 600, 1200. Made it nice and shiny. And each time you change grits, if you're going this way, turn your plate 90 degrees and go this way. Same way, you just turn 90 degrees. That way, one set goes like this, one set of cuts go like this, and the other goes like that. That way you know you're getting all the previous sanding marks out. And whenever you hit 1200 grit, 2000 grit, you're going to end up with a polished surface. Now, as we see with the original, this is straight out of the box. It is not mirror polished by no means. It is not. So you don't have to go to a mirror polish like I did. Might not hurt. I don't know. I'm not a machinist. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a backyard, try to make it run kind of guy. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Now, for the pistons and the cylinder block. Where is my Sharpie? Too many projects at one time. Searching for a Sharpie. Hang on. I think the kids might have raided my Sharpie. Having your kids move your tools and stuff, it's aggravating, but you know what? It's worth every penny to have your kids interested in what you're doing in the shop, and make them feel invited. Yeah, sometimes we get stuck on we only get so much time to do a job. We only get, you feel rushed, and it's like, dadgummit, kids, you're in the way. You're slowing me down. I don't have much time to get this project done. But there they are. And encourage that. Kids love spending time with their folks. They love doing stuff, we need to keep them encouraged. We want them to do more. So many people today, so many kids today don't have the advantages we had growing up. A lot of us had parents, relatives, whatever, that worked with their hands. Well, not so many people do that today. Let me see, let me get over here where you can see me again. Okay, I told you I was going to, anyway, encourage your kids to get out here with the shop. Spend time with you, learn how to turn wrenches, have fun. Critical thinking, thinking for yourself, problem solving, how are we going to fix this? We need more kids getting their hands dirty. Okay, back to the original thing. We're going to try a pen, see if it works. They said they have to be returned to their original bores, and I'm going to cheat. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 pistons. So I'm making a mark. Like a Sharpie better. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the idea. Six. Eight. Lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And just for the heck of it, we'll put an X on that. That'll be number 9. Mark number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. And 9. Now you can also polish these. I forgot what they were called, but you can do the same thing with them. I'm not going to. These look good, so I'm going to remove it as a whole. Set it over there. Now, 1, 9, mark 6 also. You can mark all of them if you want to. Let's see if I can get you a good picture of the bottom. There's a few rusty spots, places that don't look good. So we're going to do a little work here. And the reason I remove the pistons, not only does it make it easier, of course we're creating grit. Shavings, nasty stuff that we do not want to get in there. I mean, we're going to clean this anyway, but still, it's going to be a whole lot easier like this. Again, no down pressure, just the weight of the piston or the cylinder. Now check, make sure you haven't knocked off any of your marks, because once they're gone, you're in trouble. Alright, just take a look and see what the bottom looks like now. You got, yeah, whenever I pressed this out, there was a metallic piece in here. I'm not sure what it was, but it created some problems for me. Some deformations. So we're just making sure those spots are down. You don't want to do that. You want it to be as flat as you can get it. And this part, the cylinder block pistons that's sold as a group, is still available. It's not cheap. I can't remember the price, but I want to say it's around, well, I can't remember the price. It's very expensive whenever you're trying to do it on the cheap. I mean, if you've got something you're attached to and you don't mind putting the money into it, I want to say this is the rotating assembly is like $800 or $900. I've got some indentions, but I don't have anything raised anymore. So we're going to change that out. Let's see what else I've got. What do I got? Hang on a second. Alright, we're going to a piece of 1000 grit now. These finer grits can be found automotive stores for sanding vehicles, paint jobs. Make sure I'm where you guys can see me. Check your marks. My number 1 is gone. Number 9 is still there. 6 is almost gone. And yes, I'm not using lint-free cloth. I should be. But we're going to give this thing a good cleaning before we go back together. One and 9, 6 is still good. Alright, I'm happy with that. I've got no high spots. Everything looks good. think I'm gonna hit this with the 1000 grit just for fun of it. Let me see which way I was. Alright, I'm happy with those two. So we'll put the sanding equipment away. Now we get to see about putting this together. Again, keep an eye on your marks. You don't want to lose them. That's the spiral lock ring. So inside here, I'm going to have this, the spring, the washer, and finally the spiral lock. This is what creates your preset load and keeps these two squeezed together so that fluid doesn't come shooting out the sides and you lose all your pressure. So we'll stop right here. We've got to make the compressor that it talks about in the manual. We'll read the manual a little more and we'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, we are back. Found the needed components. Manual's right here, page 46. Calls for a 3/8 by 3" bolt. Yeah, I don't have one of those. Check my numbers again. 1, 9. They keep disappearing on me. Manual says the compression spring, or the what do they call it? The special retaining ring. There's a big end and a small end. It says the big end toward the spring, so that falls down in there. Then the spring, then the special retaining washer. This is a 1/4 20 by 3, I guess. It goes right down the center. See if we get everything to line up pretty decent. This is the special spring compressing tool they talk about. A couple of wrenches and we'll be good to go. Okay. What's wrong with? All right, we hung up on something, so. I think I'm down far enough. It hit solid. I think I'm down far enough. I'm just going to take my gloves off so I can handle this little spiral lock. There's a groove inside there. I can't say that I have ever really tried to put one of these in before, so might not be doing it correct. It's in the bore. I don't think it's in the actual locking groove. But a lot of y'all have seen one of these, but thought it was used just for picking the stuff out of pecans, picking the meat out of the pecan. Okay, I've got one section. It's not, I can't tell if it's in the groove or not. I don't think it is. Alright, we're going to take the tension off the screw. It feels like the ring is where it's supposed to be. And it is in the groove all the way around. Success! Oh, y'all just about let me mess up here. Doing all that handling and not watching my marks. I believe we've got it. And again, we exchanged. This is where I screwed up. This is spiral lock, that spacer washer, and this special. This locks in. Let me get the other part. This is the spring clip that's on the shaft, and well, that's what locks it on. Damaged this part too, as far as I'm concerned. They were a little bit pricey, but you know, this thing's 30-40 years old. Alright, we'll spray the bores down with brake cleaner, clean them up. I'll be back. Okay folks, I blew it out with brake cleaner. My numbers remained, but I did put a couple of hash marks. This is number 1, it's got 1 mark. Number 9 has 2. Just very small dimples. There was some already in from the manufacturing process, so I didn't feel like this would create a problem. The risk was minimal. Cleaned the bottom surface real good. Wanted to make sure there was no grit left over from the lapping, sanding process. And this is a good time to break the video up. So I'm going to turn you off for a little while. We've got some stuff, prior commitments, you know how that goes. And hopefully I'll be back this evening doing more work, putting this back together and making more of a video for everybody. Hopefully the next update won't be 2 months, 3 months down the road. Hopefully it'll be 2 or 3 hours. Anyway, thanks for watching.